Hey everyone, it's Star Alliance Man here, and today I have a new model airport update for the month of March. This one is not going to be my usual model airport updates with some of the more current and modern aircraft and airlines that you see today, but a slightly more retro update, and one that I've actually done. I think last year I did one of these where I took some of the older airlines and especially aircraft, particularly the quad engine type of aircraft, the A340s and 747s, and kind of put them together to make a retro update from sort of the mid-2000s period. I just thought it was a really cool concept, and certainly in an era that I grew up in, and one that I cherish a lot with a lot of the airlines and the aircraft that were flying at the time. So I just wanted to put together a little update here with some new aircraft that I've gotten over the past few months, and just kind of put some aircraft together and see what we can come up with. But the airport is still kind of based in the Southern California area. And you'll notice a lot of these aircraft, you would see in places like Los Angeles. But, it's great to put these Jonai aircraft and also Phoenix and a bunch of other brands together and just kind of seeing and really reflecting on kind of the olden days in a sense, but obviously not too old compared to the 60s and 50s and even to the Wright brothers, obviously. So, we're going to jump right into this update. You'll notice a couple things have changed in that the terminal, you can see, it's not the traditional Gemini terminal that I've had here, so it doesn't have, the ramps that I've used before, just because that terminal is in a different location right now. So I'm just using one of the other terminals that goes with these other three, actually. So this is from the updated Gemini Jets terminal set. So it doesn't have the ramps. It has jet bridges on both sides, but obviously I'm just using it for the one side here. But we'll take a look at some of these aircraft. We have a little United Express here to start us off. This is the BAE, or the Avro 76, I think it's called, but the BAE 146 aircraft for United Express. It is operating in the battleship gray colors. So doing a flight out to Colorado, got a little ramp there for passengers to board. We have a United 777-200 here in the blue tulip colors. We have a TED A320 next to that. Another United aircraft, the 757-200 here in the blue tulip colors. We have a Mexicana. This airline, unfortunately, is out of business these days, but this is the old Mexicana livery as well, the A319 here. And next to that, we have a couple Air Canada aircraft, both of which are going to be in that old livery. And I think some people called this 767. You can see, I think people call it toothpaste and other interesting names. But this is the old Air Canada livery, 767-300. Definitely did a lot of flights transatlantically. And certainly I remember seeing that living in London and places like that. So really cool looking aircraft made by JC Wings here, and finally got that in. And next to that, we just have that Jazz. This is sort of the regional subsidiary for Air Canada that used to be called that, but these days I think they just call it Air Canada Express, and they have a few operators, I'm sure. But that is the CRJ 705, not the CRJ 900, but I think the frame of that aircraft is the CRJ 900, but the seating configuration or something makes it so it's actually the CRJ 705, I think, officially. So then we have kind of this next terminal here, and just kind of a few random interesting airlines. I mean, the international carriers, you'll see we have British Airways here to start us off. This is the classic 747-400. We have the Aeroflot A330-200. I think this is an NG model and just one of my favorites. Really a fan of that. Obviously not in light of the current circumstances with Russia, but the old Aeroflot days and A330s that flew to LAX and a bunch of locations. Just an interesting and cool looking aircraft. Up next we have the El Al. This is the 777-200. El Al Israel, of course. Another just cool looking aircraft. This one still might fly today, but I haven't seen it in a while. Up next, we have the Hawaiian. Now, this is not your typical, 717, 321neo, A330. This is the 767-300, and I think they had a couple of door configurations, with this aircraft. So this particular one is Gemini Jets. It's an updated version of the release, and the door config, it has, 4 doors on the left, obviously. You can see it doesn't have any overwing exits, so there's a couple of them that do have it, but obviously that one is not configured like that. We have the Continental, not United, but the tail is the same, and a lot of other parts are the same, but this is the Continental 737-800, of course. Here we have the Delta Airlines, but it is the low-cost subsidiary, which was branded as Song. The 757-200 here, another Gemini Jets model. Really cool. We have the NWA 757-200 here. That one is made by NG Models. We have the America West Express with some interesting wings, to say the least. CRJ 900 here, doing the service to Phoenix, of course. Here we have the Delta 757-200, just to wrap up here with the, I think, Motion in Blue colors is officially what they were called, or Colors in Motion, but it's gotten some other, wavy gravy names and stuff like that, but obviously non-winglet 757-200 to wrap up this terminal here. And then as we take a look at the other main terminals, so you can see we have our typical setup of two terminals over there, just kind of separated, but here we have kind of a larger combined terminal. So a few more domestics here on this side, just your classic American Airlines. This is the old school AAL, with the chrome liveries, and a couple 757-200s here. This is, both of them are made by NG. So we have the classic, chrome livery, but, then they recently came out with the One World livery. So that one is also here, and just great to have these two models. If you ever get the chance and you have any nostalgia for the old American livery, I think this is, a really good way to go. Just a lovely, lovely release, and really, really like those aircraft. Up next, we have a couple Southwest, and of course, if you know anything about Southwest, you might know that they had some special liveries, and SeaWorld was one of them, and I think this is a 737-300 that they called Shamu, actually. So, really cool aircraft, I think made by Panda Models, but really great to have that in the terminal. We have a classic, Canyon Blue 737-700 next to that. A couple older ones, the Frontier 319, those were only recently retired, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. It's not too old here, but definitely wanted to include in the update. But here we have the Air Trans Airlines. I think this is the ATA, the 757-300. Really kind of a rare aircraft in the first place, but just with the ATA livery, I was always a fan of these, and seeing them in places like Vegas, in Florida and wherever else they flew, Hawaii. Just a really, really cool, livery airline. And then as we take a look at some of the internationals, we have the China Eastern. So, this model is, I think it's made by Phoenix, and, the old China Eastern, I still am nostalgic about this airplane, just seeing it in California and elsewhere, and just really wanted to have it in this update. And so you can see just how wide the distance is between this L1 and the L2 door. That's something interesting about the A340-600. But this aircraft just parked at the gate here, doing a service to, Shanghai, China. Up next, we have the EVA Air. This is the 747-400, so not your typical 777 you see today, and also the livery has changed a little bit, but, the majority, right? Most of it hasn't really changed. It's, it's just updated a little bit, but this is the, old livery, EVA Air 747-400. And then up next, we have the Virgin Atlantic. This is the A340-600. Like I said, another A340, 747 quad jets. This is what this update's all about. But the Virgin Atlantic, the A340-600 here, this is, 4 engines, 4 long haul. Obviously the old livery. I think, early 2000s, this livery would have been out, but, I think it lasted for a while, and definitely one of my favorite aircraft here. So happy to have that in the update as well, with the service to London Heathrow. And then just to wrap up this terminal, we have the Air New Zealand. This is the 747-400. Like I said, another 747 to add in the update, but you can see it's the old livery with kind of the stripes there, and just a really, awesome airplane to add into the collection. So we'll take a look what else is at the airport. And as I give you this view here, we have, you'll see a couple aircraft on the stands, but also just an overall view of the rest of the airport. But we're going to cover some aircraft on the stands here, and then we'll go to the ones that are taxiing at the moment. But first, another A340, of course. This is the A340-600 for Etihad. The old livery, as you're going to notice, even a couple pieces of dust on her, unfortunately. But we'll definitely have her polished. But this is the Etihad A340-600, I think made by Phoenix. Just wanted to pull this one off the shelf and really, just take a look at that beautiful livery. So, really cool aircraft on the stands. Up next, we have the Las Vegas Sands. This is the 747 SP. Again, made by NG Models here this time, and, really vintage aircraft. Not necessarily that common, but just a really, rare vintage aircraft that I like to have, and just really cool to go with the L1011, of course, which is also part of the Las Vegas Sands fleet. Unfortunately, it doesn't fly today, but you know, I'm really glad that that NG, you know, made a model of that. Up next, we have another United battleship. This is the 777-200. Just a, you know, kind of a mainstay here. Have to include it in the update just as a United person. But up next, we have the Qantas 747, and, you know, also on the stands here, one of the more modern aircraft, but again, retired recently. You know, this was certainly something very common you would see in the 2008, 2007 period, you know, just really classic Qantas 74. The titles, though, are updated, so I don't know what year they made that change, but, you know, you would have to look at that. But still wanted to include that here. And up next, we have the Air Tahiti Nui. This is the A340-300. You know, again, another cool vintage aircraft, now replaced by the 787-9. And up next, we have the NWA. This is a A330, excuse me, the A330-300, just taking off here, probably going to Amsterdam or something like that. And then I'll take you a little bit to the cargo section. You know, not much has changed since the last couple updates, just because I don't have a ton of, you know, interesting, rare aircraft for the cargo department. But, you know, we have a couple 747s here, and I still think even China Cargo and a few of these airlines, you would see, you know, a lot in the 2000s. And so, yeah, just really wanted to include those. And then we have the Asiana. This is the Asiana 777-200, of course. I think even these are still flying. Maybe they're retired, but definitely wanted to have that as it's going to be taxiing to the runway for a flight to Seoul Incheon. So that's really going to wrap up this update. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, try to include some ground service equipment and a few other things into the airport here, just to add to the realism. But, you know, I still want to add more services, and obviously with that ramp there for that terminal, and everything else that I can try to do to update this airport and make it a true vintage, you know, equivalent of the mid-2000s. But I just wanted to share my update for March. Hope everyone is doing well and getting through this year, and look forward to a great summer and more updates for the channel. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.